So how did we meet? And all I remember were her big brown eyes and her luscious lips.
Okay.
Like actually dating was literally 6 weeks before she graduated.
Yeah, long distance. Do you have anything you want to say about long distance relationships? Even though we started dating, I guess, in college, we eventually moved apart, and so we went to different medical schools actually. And I was stalking him. I don't know why.
She was.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to our series called Journey Through Medicine. Today we're going to be talking about how we met and the process of finding your significant other if you are in medicine. So let's go ahead and get started.
So how did we meet?
Why are you asking me? As if you don't know?
I asked you.
We met in college actually, so we met before we were even in medicine. We were both pre-med, so you can tell the story in the way that you like. And I know you have a very different account of what happened.
So actually, before I even get to that, I'm just gonna give some advice. Before I started college, I had a friend who had recently gotten married and had told us, or at least told me, that when I go off to college that I should be looking for my wife or my significant other. I took that seriously, you know. She said that a lot of people forget that after college you're rarely in a situation where you constantly see the same people over and over again, except for work. And some people don't want to date their coworkers, so you're in an unusual situation. So I kept that in mind when I was going off to college, or I transferred to Stanford. But getting back to how we met, well, it was quite interesting because we were both on the tail end of a relationship, each of us.
So we're gonna go all into that, all
into it, yeah.
Okay.
They're getting the real deal, none of this fluff. You getting the real stuff, all right? So, yeah, I just remember. Well, I'm just gonna skip forward to the part that I remember. Obviously, I was new to the institution at Stanford, and she probably stalked me, and she was stalking me apparently.
All right, let's start over. So we both went to the same college. I was there first. He was actually a transfer into the institution to Stanford. And so we met, at like a Nigerian Student Association meeting. He likes to say that I was stalking him. I don't know why.
She was.
So it turns out that we were both on our way to the same meeting, and I was walking behind him because I was on my way to the same destination. And then he counts that as me stalking him, which is just not true.
Well,
but
she was talking about how she's watching how I was walking.
No, because I recognized that I didn't know who he was because he was a transfer student. I hadn't seen him before. So I was like, who is this person? As I was on my way to this Nigerian Student Association meeting. So yeah, that's his version of stalking. But we officially met at this meeting.
I don't remember much of that meeting. What I do remember is probably the second or third time that we met was the night that the Dean of Medicine at Stanford was hosting a how to get to medical school conference or something like that, or seminar. And we just so happened to attend it with some of our friends, and we were walking back together because our dorms were in the same direction. And I remember just getting to your dorm. I forgot the name of it already, but it's one of the nicer looking ones. And we ended up just I guess she gave me and Ramin like a tour of the dorm. And afterwards we were like in the garden, and we were literally talking for 2 hours. And all I remember were her big brown eyes and her luscious lips.
Okay, this is new information.
Yeah, new information. What are you talking about? That was in the poem that I wrote to you. Oh, you don't remember that? Just kidding.
Anyway.
No, but actually we had a pretty in-depth at least 2 hour conversation, and it got to know her pretty well, at least what her overall life goals were.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing, is that during that kind of initial meeting, we like talked about like our life goals and like the, you know, where we saw ourselves. And that was like, I think it's really important to sort of establish that early when you are starting to be interested in someone, so that you know you're on the same path. I think ultimately we were both interested in medicine. We both had like similar family values. So all of that is really important. So.
Yeah. So, but you know, I still remember that night. Like I just remember going back to my dorm and immediately looking at her up and feeling a little disappointed because she was in a relationship, even though I was in a relationship too. And I mean, obviously, like I mentioned, it was already going downhill. Like it wasn't working. But anyway, our situation actually allowed it such that we got to be good friends first, because we still had to sort out our own individual relationships. So I got to know Nancy as a person first, as a friend. And even more interestingly was the fact that she was only there for a quarter, and she ended up going to
study abroad. To England. She went to Oxford.
Yep.
For 6 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
6 months. But even despite that, even though we were just purely friends at that time, like I remember being at Stanford and I would talk to her on the phone late at night. I'd be on the phone for hours. Like I don't even know, like looking back now, I'm like, how did I even go to class or have energy for all this stuff, you know? Because we literally talked for hours. And I mean, it was good because I got to know you like through your voice. And actually, when I think about you, it's not even the physical person. I think about our conversations that we had, because like we had so many like in-depth and rich conversations. Like depending on what you actually bring up for the conversations that we had, I have a memory associated with where I was at that time and point. So it was pretty cool because I got to know somebody very well. Obviously I was interested in her, but I got to know her like as who she was, or who she really was, without her trying to impress me or me trying to impress her. And I think that's the beauty of getting to know somebody as a friend first, or at least having a friend or seeing somebody that you see regularly, so you get an idea of who they are without them trying to put their best foot forward.
Yeah.
So.
And that's something that's unique to, like, I guess when you're in training or in school, that you do have those opportunities to get to know people as friends first, because you're kind of all in the same space, studying together or learning together. So sometimes that's the best place to meet someone, if you have that opportunity to meet someone that.
That set aside, I mean, because again, eventually my relationship ended with the person, and she was still like in her relationship. So I mean, I didn't know where any of this was going. I actually dated other people in not high school, but college, you know. Took everything seriously, and I mean, obviously, you know, when things are gonna work out, you know, some things work out, some things don't. But I got to know Nancy, and it just so happened that when she came back from the UK, like, I don't know how this happened, but we were in the same dorm, and I was literally in the dorm room right above hers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now we were able to have like lunch talks together, we'd eat at dinner together. We
were like best friends.
Yeah, by that point, we were like
in
best friends.
addition to my girlfriends, we hung out a lot.
Yeah. Even though nothing, like, we still weren't even dating or like nothing. And I just remember the first time that we actually like considered like actually dating was literally 6 weeks before she graduated. And it was a little nerve-wracking for me. I was happy because at least there was a chance, you know, a chance that this could work. But I was also, I guess the word is nervous. I don't know if nervous is really the word, but I just knew that she'd be going back to Texas, and like her situation with her ex-boyfriend, I don't know, like I just didn't know what would happen over there. Like I don't have that kind of control, but you know, we would be going back to that long distance situation, or at least talking on the phone a lot, which I was very fond for me and I really enjoyed. But I also was aware, or quite aware of the fact that like when you're physically in the same area around somebody, like who knows what could happen or what, you know, things rekindle. I don't know. But either way, I think it kind of worked itself out. We still talk on the phone.
that's probably a good segue into like long distance relationships. So even though we started dating, I guess, in college, we eventually moved apart, and the majority of our relationship was long distance. So we went to different medical schools actually, and so we were long distance throughout medical school and during our first year of residency. So yeah, long distance. Do you have anything you want to say about long distance relationships? Because a lot of people say that they don't work. A lot of people are just not willing to try it in the first place, just because it's such a difficult thing. But
I will say this. I mean, it's not for everybody. And again, I think the fact that I knew Nancy as a friend first made it such that we already had that connection, at least in terms of like knowing each other very well and talking on the phone. Like, so that just continued. When we were in medical school, we would talk for 1 hour. Oh, actually, it varied because I remember we tried so many different things to see how this thing would work out. But I think for the most part, we spent an hour a day, which eventually turned into an hour every other day. We got to study and do all this other stuff.
Yeah, but I think we still managed to speak at least once, even if it was brief.
Yeah.
Like at least once a day.
Yeah.
But it's hard in medical school, especially because you're studying a lot. And, you don't have time to. It's very different from college, and so.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, yes, you are studying a lot. You're especially the first 3 months. You're studying a lot. Like, so you're like
you have to get used to how much you need to study to cover the material.
Exactly.
So maybe in the beginning we were very.
It was tough in the beginning. Exactly. But then after you get a feel for med school, after you find your, once you get your rhythm down for medical school, then it changes, because now, like when I think about the second half of the first year, I was hanging out with my roommate. Actually, I didn't have a roommate at the time, but I was going to parties with my classmates. Like there was a social.
So you were partying.
Yeah, we partied. Yeah, we studied. I studied, work hard, party hard.
I didn't attend one single party.
That's on you, okay?
It's a joke. Of course I did. No, you do have time. You just have to learn to manage your time appropriately.
Yeah. And that being said, I used to be a very, very bad procrastinator, and that definitely changed. Well, definitely improved in medical school and was pretty much eliminated by the time I was in residency, because you don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the other thing is with long distance relationships is that, some people, everybody's different. Everybody has a love language. If your love language is time together, well, if you're still on the phone, that does count as time together. But if you're more of a physical person, then long distance
it's going to be harder for you. Not impossible, of course, but more difficult.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, we only saw each other like 3 or 4 times.
It was literally like once every 3 months. I think that's what it came out to throughout like medical school. Once every 3 months.
Yeah.
We try to like make time to visit each other.
Hang out or something. Yeah.
And then that carried on to residency, because we initially.
Before that, I think one other thing that you need to kind of keep in mind is that you have to be able to see yourself with that person over time. So even though you're doing the long distance, you need to see yourself over time with that person. And the way I kind of create that for myself was when she graduated and moved to Texas, the following year I gave her a promise ring, and I told her family that I was interested in her already. So like I already set the bar like there. I'm like, hey, Nancy's amazing. I already met her mom. But I wanted to make it clear that I'm not just your boyfriend. I'm seriously courting.
Kind of making your intentions clear early.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you don't have if you're in a long distance relationship but you don't have clear intentions about where that relationship is going, then it's hard to sustain it. Like if you're on the track where you're like, this is the person I want to eventually end up with, marry, then I think it's a no-brainer that you would want to work to maintain the long distance relationship. So I think just making your intentions clear and being sure that that's the person that you want to spend your life with.
Yeah, and that's it. For me, like, it was almost a no-brainer too. Like, I don't necessarily believe in love at first sight, but I can say, like, within those 2 hours of meeting Nancy, I knew that she was the person that would be right for me. And I'm not a believer that you just have one right person for you. There are several people who kind of fit the mold.
Yeah.
But given our circumstance and our situation, like, I had found that person for me at that particular time. So, I mean, why let go of something that you already know is gonna work, And just actually living that long distance, relationship was the manifestation of that. I don't know if you call it insight or belief that that's the person that's right for you. But yeah, so that promise ring was for me, it was very important because it's like I'm working towards a goal, and I'm saying, hey, I'm going to get married at some point. This is that first step for me to make that known to you and your family. And in medical school, I think, which was 9, 10, 11. So 2 years after that promise ring came the engagement, which, I knew that we weren't going to get married like even within a year of the engagement. We knew that it would be sometime like
towards the end of our training,
yeah.
right? Because we were in the middle of medical school and we were separated.
Yeah.
Like, I was in the South, you were on the East Coast, and this was East Coast. So it was like,
yeah.
That was also, difficult. We got engaged long distance, and we were engaged for several.
The thing that made it nice, or the reason why the engagement kind of worked out, at least in my belief, is that, we did spend a year like living in the same city. So we did a research year between second and third year of medical school, and that gave us a lot of time to like hang out with each other. We're in the same city. Like, I had a fellowship. I had fun actually planning the engagement. Oh my gosh.
That's a story for another day.
Yeah, story for another day.